let's be honest. If you feel like the rule book for retirement got thrown out the window these last few years, you're not wrong. I mean, between the wild market swings, inflation, and, well, a global pandemic, that old playbook is pretty much useless. Today, we are going to dive into a major report from Next Wealth that shows us the new rules for retirement in the UK and, what it all means for you. So this is the big question, isn't it? The pandemic didn't just change where we work. It completely rattled our sense of financial security. For so many people, it was this massive wake-up call, right? It forced us to take a really hard look at our long-term plans and ask, hey, could this actually survive a huge unexpected shock? And all that uncertainty, it sent a lot of people looking for answers. In fact, it sent nearly half of them straight to a financial advisor. I mean, look at that number, 47%. That's how many advisors said demand for their retirement services shot up more than usual specifically because of the pandemic. People weren't just daydreaming about retirement anymore. They were actively trying to get help to navigate this totally new and frankly kind of scary landscape. Okay, so what exactly is on everyone's minds? To really get why the advice is changing, we've got to first understand the people who are asking for it. So let's take a look at the hopes and fears that are really at the heart of retirement planning today. And this right here just lays it all out perfectly. It's this incredible tension. On the one hand, what do most people hope for? It's actually pretty simple. They just want to keep living the way they are now. No crazy dreams of yachts, just comfort, But on the other hand, what's their number one absolute biggest fear? Running out of money. It's this constant push and pull between wanting to live well and being terrified the well will run dry. And that's what advisors have to deal with every single day. Now, here's what makes that fear so real. For the majority of clients, we're talking a full 61% of them, their entire retirement savings add up to less than £250,000. Now think about it. When you're trying to make that pot of money last for maybe 20, 30, or even 40 years, that fear of running out isn't just some vague worry. It is a very real, very stressful math problem. So you've got this huge challenge, right? Tons of uncertainty, and for most people, limited funds. So how are the pros responding? Well, let's get into the modern toolkit advisors are using now, because it really is a whole new ballgame. For decades, retirement planning was built around this one simple idea. You've probably heard of it, the 4% rule. The thinking was, you could just pull out a fixed percentage of your savings each year, and you'd be totally fine. It was simple, it was straightforward, and for a long time, it seemed to work. But in today's world, that one-size-fits-all approach is really starting to show its age. The new way, it's so much smarter. The best way to think about dynamic cash flow modeling is like a financial GPS for your retirement. So instead of one rigid rule, it uses some pretty powerful software to run thousands of different simulations on your money. It stress tests everything against all sorts of market crashes, inflation spikes, and spending habits. What you get is a living, breathing plan that can actually change and adapt right along with your life and the economy. And here it is. This is the tipping point. For the very first time, a majority of advisors, 51% of them, have officially ditched that old fixed-rate rulebook. They are now using these advanced modeling tools to figure out how much their clients can safely spend. This isn't just a small trend, folks. This is a sea change in how retirement advice is actually done. This quote from the research really just nails why this whole shift is so important. Retirement isn't one single event. It's this long journey with totally different stages. You've got the active go-go years right at the start, then the slower, slow-go years, and eventually the no-go years. Each one has completely different costs, and a dynamic plan can account for all of that in a way that old fixed rule just never could. All right, so the planning itself has gotten a lot more sophisticated. But what about the investments? Where's the money actually going? Let's take a peek inside a modern retirement portfolio, because there's a really fascinating shift happening that goes way beyond just the bottom line. I mean, think about that question for a second. 10 or 15 years ago, it would have sounded kind of weird, right? But today, it's actually becoming a really important part of the conversation. People want their money to do more than just grow. They want it to actually line up with their values. And that brings us to the huge rise of ESG investing. That's looking at environmental, social, and governance factors. And the growth here is just, wow. In a single year, the number of advisors who always consider these ESG factors when picking investments jumped from 31% all the way to 43%. This isn't some niche thing for a handful of people anymore. It's quickly becoming a core part of how a modern retirement portfolio gets built. It's a huge shift in what clients are asking for. So the industry is definitely adapting. We've got smarter tools, we've got more values-driven investments, but it's not all smooth sailing. Let's wrap up by looking at the big challenges on the horizon that advisors have their eyes on. And here are the big four things keeping them up at night: constantly shifting government rules, the stability of the financial markets, the lingering effects of the pandemic, and honestly, just the day-to-day pressure of running a business in all of this. All these things create this really complex, unpredictable world that shapes the advice we all receive. And so we end on this thought. The tools are getting more powerful, the investments are more thoughtful, and the strategies are more personal than they have ever been. There's no doubt the financial advice industry is getting smarter. So the real question this whole report leaves us with is, are you ready for it? As a client, are you ready to engage with this new way of planning?